And when they had assembled with the elders and taken counsel, they gave a sufficient sum of money to the soldiers and said, "Tell people his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep." Matthew 28, 12 through 13. You always have to deal with the body. These two verses are recorded in Matthew right after the accounts of the crucifixion and resurrection. The temple guards, who were given authority by Pilate to make the tomb where Jesus had been laid to rest as secure as they could, met with the chief priests to explain to them that even though they had made the tomb as secure as they could, the body of Jesus was now missing. The chief priests didn't want everyone to think for a minute that Jesus had been raised from the dead, so they started a campaign to put forth an explanation that what happened to the body is that the disciples came in the middle of the night and stole the body. What did happen to the body? That's a question that every person has to struggle with and try to find a plausible answer. Is it true that the disciples stole the body to cover up for Jesus' claim that if they destroyed his temple, his body, that in 3 days he would rebuild it? In other words, rise from the dead? That seems like a possible explanation, except for one major problem. When a person faces death, they are usually willing to tell the truth about a lie that they have been propagating. All but one of the disciples at the time of Jesus' death died as martyrs, holding fast to what they believed and confessed, including that Jesus had been miraculously raised from the dead on the third day. Maybe the soldiers had taken the body. That's a pretty easy explanation to dispel, because if the soldiers had taken the body, all they would need to do is produce the body, and Jesus would have been exposed as something other than what he claimed to be. One other explanation that has been bantered about is that perhaps Jesus never was dead. He lay in the tomb for 3 days, then single-handedly pushed away the stone, overpowered the guards, and fled into the city. There are several problems with this explanation. The guards at the crucifixion were professionals, and they knew when someone was dead. When they came to Jesus, they didn't break his legs because they determined that he was dead. To confirm their conviction, they pierced his side with a spear, and from his side flowed water and blood. Another sign he was dead. Also, the guards didn't offer this explanation to the religious leaders, but instead simply explained that in spite of their best efforts, Jesus was nowhere to be found. So what did happen to the body of Jesus? I think the only answer that holds up under scrutiny is that he really did rise from the dead. The women saw him, the disciples saw him. According to 1 Corinthians 15, over 500 people saw him. My hope is that rather than making up flimsy, false explanations like the guards were paid to do, that people will be granted the faith to believe that Jesus really lived, he really was crucified, and he really did rise from the dead. Press on in the Lord.